The absolute best fighters in the world are masterminds of intuition. An intuition that comes only from legwork that's been put in. The footage is from one of many underground boxing matches that my cousin Aaron and I held for years in the hometown where I live. The footage is of us fighting. Aaron, the gentleman with Army Ranger tags, I might add, in the blue shorts, has been my sparring partner since childhood. It's tough as a coffin now, that one. Yeah, so anyhow, there's no real algorithm per se when it comes to the daisy. It's just important to look for the white squares in the center positions of opposing faces. Perhaps quarter turn and then maybe do like a half trigger move so that the next move can
don't see why not.
in that center 90-degree angle position that makes up the petals of the daisy. Hi there, video 2 of 7 in this series about why I want my children to solve the Rubik's Cube before I teach them how to box. And actually, this is probably the best time to explain exactly why, because this is the simplest one and I actually have all the instructions written out. So, my reasoning breaks down into 3 main points. If you're able to solve the cube, you're able to follow directions. Point number 2. It took me about 6 months worth of practice until I finally learned how to solve the cube, but that gave me muscle memory, which is hugely important in boxing. Point number 3. The way I see it, they're both algorithmic. They both can be won in more than one way. And when the utility of one algorithm is over, there's a sign that signals for the next algorithm to start, like that white cross right there. Welcome back to my series about why I choose to have my children solve the Rubik's Cube before I teach them to box. I say welcome back because I assume you've watched the first 2, but if you haven't, please go back and rewatch. As the video is titled, I hope by now you're in the habit of seeing that the first part of the title indicates what the cube should look like when we're finished, and the second part of the title indicates how that relates to boxing. So steps 1 and 2, the daisy and white cross respectively, both related to concepts that take root in the early stages of a boxing match. So from here on out, I want you to imagine not so much a sequence of events, but a tool belt from which a fighter will be able to pull from. Remembering back on the previous lessons from this series, we know that the orientation of the cube has the yellow at the top and the white at the bottom, and the center squares are fixed on each space. Okay, so the first thing that you have to know is that there are multiple conditions that need to be met in order to perform either the right or left trigger. Number 1, the bottom corner has to be vacant. Number 2, either the right or left corner has to be the same as what's in the center facing yourself. And finally, if the white block is on the top, it won't end up on the bottom after performing either the right or left trigger. And therefore, you'll have multiple conditions that you'll need to have in order to proceed with either the right or left trigger. But before we get to that, let's describe how this relates to boxing. I would say in most cases, multiple conditions have to be met for an offensive attack to be engaged when it comes to boxing. For example, an opponent would have to drop his right hand, but also be in striking distance in order for a successful campaign to be launched. And again, the utility of the Rubik's Cube is that you are not being punched in the face while trying to find where these conditions are met, and you have unlimited amounts of time to solve the Rubik's Cube, with which you can identify these conditions. Now, to perform right trigger. Hold the cube like a fastball with your index finger on the cube position that you want to change. You want to push the right face of the cube away from your body 90 degrees, pull your index finger back towards your body, and then return your hand back to the original position. And you can physically perform the trigger as fast as a Wild West gunslinger. And your bottom layer looks like this. Next step. Welcome to number 4 of a 7 video series about why I believe my children should be able to solve a Rubik's Cube before I teach them how to box. So, in the last video, we made it all the way up to the end of the second layer. And so this video, that's where we're going to be starting. Alright, congratulations if you made it this far. This level is called Disruption. And I can tell you, all parties involved have the mindset of going in and winning. So you have 2 opposing strategies, and he who disrupts usually wins. Alright, we're going to start with the first layer completed, and by the end of this video, you will have the second layer completed. You'll understand why I said in the last video about committing the right and left trigger to memory, because they are an essential step in solving the second layer. I almost gave it the title Stalagmite, and that's because of this shape you see here, the Tetris shape. Now it's going to be the same on all 4 sides, and what you want to do is line up the color that you have facing your chest directly over top this time, not like it's at the side if you were going to perform the right or left trigger, but instead straight up and down. This step has a few conditions too, one of which I already told you, which is the color that you're working on has to be straight up and down directly over top of the centerpiece as opposed to diagonal. The next condition is that color that you have in front of your chest is going to have a different color on its adjacent surface, the one on top of the cube. If that is yellow, it is not usable in this algorithm. So you're gonna have to find colors or go in the order that the cube basically tells you to. You're gonna be looking for a color that you wanna line up to make your stalagmite, and then you wanna look to make sure that there isn't a yellow that is on top of it. Here's what the algorithm looks like. Here's what it looks like when I do it today. That's why I say repetition, repetition, repetition. You want to be able to reproduce these movements while you're being punched in the face. So that last part you might have to rewind a few times. Sorry about the quality of this video. That's actually me boxing with my old boss. Talk about a fun experience. How many of you out there would like to box your boss once? Alright, this last part is just using stock footage, but really I just want to give you a few different forms of disruption that can be used to win a fight. There's changing levels, which is, going high and then punching low. You can disrupt your opponent's breathing by well-timed shots to the body and smothering him with your gloves. You can come in the form of outclassing your opponent through speed or power or even heart. I'm sure Mayweather broke many men's hearts whenever they couldn't penetrate the Philly shell defense. Anyways, that's it for this step. Hope you enjoyed the video. Welcome back to part 6 of why I want my kids to be able to solve a Rubik's Cube before I teach them how to box. We ended the last video with the yellow cross on top, and we're going to end this video with the yellow cross on top, but the colors are going to be matched up to their appropriate faces in those non-corner pieces. And here's what it looks like in slow motion and with the algorithm added, so that you can press pause and practice. And this video is titled Know and Know Who Knows Your Weaknesses. And for lack of a better theme, this is the step for which I am the weakest. And I can admit that because this is the Rubik's Cube. However, in a boxing match, I wouldn't be so quick to admit my weaknesses to others. However, it is integral that you understand what they are. those are the areas that you want to train hardest in to become a well-rounded fighter. You don't want to be a unifaceted fighter or a one-trick pony or that guy that does the Garland Bomb Rush, which for viewers who don't know, the Garland Bomb Rush is when you just go out there and expend all your energy, throw in every power punch you got for about the first 30 seconds. You're guaranteed to lose if you don't win in the first 30 seconds, but Butterbean is a good example of the Garland Bomb Rush. Alright, real quick recap. Know your weaknesses. Know who knows your weaknesses. Keep them hidden from your opponent. And train hardest in areas where you're weakest. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you basically perform the algorithm shown on the screen. I'll put it back up here. As many times as needed until you line up the portion. Sometimes I've done it like 30 times already, and then eventually it pops in. So, anyways, have fun. Welcome back to the 7th and final video in the series, entitled First Cube, Then Box. This video is a little bit different in that there are actually 2 algorithms that we're going to cover within the one video. I've lovingly annotated the algorithms, algorithm A and algorithm B, for your convenience, and they are listed. Well, and there you go. Of course, again, you can always pause to go over the algorithms and practice. This video's focus when it comes to boxing has 2 themes, basically. Theme A is setting yourself up, that is for a knockout or a victory. And the second theme is the heart, a fighter's heart. By the way, today's footage is actually my cousin Aaron fighting with people that I'm not quite sure who that guy is actually, but also the other football footage is from the Turkey Bowl, and I've included it because a lot of the guys that are playing there have actually boxed with us in these underground fight clubs over the years. And one guy in particular, while I was going through the footage, stuck out to me, and I figured I'd use you as an example. Kyle Stum plays on the high school, or did play on the high school football team line, and based off of the footage, it's obvious to see why he was such a threat. I think he's dragging something like, half a ton, maybe a little bit more across the field, like it isn't anything. And of course, when you see how that translates into a fight, the advantage that you would see, there's all that stuff. Oh, I also wrote, a lot of the guys are in the military or have served time in the military, and I felt like they deserve to be recognized too, because of their discipline and their heart, and the fact that we've gone toe to toe. And I can tell you for certain, they're not a slouch group of people. I'm sure most people would become psyched out if they would have to fight somebody like Kyle because of his size and strength. But perseverance and that heart that Aaron has, that serves him so well, as you can see. Look, if you somehow managed to solve the Rubik's Cube, congratulations. I'm proud of you. And if you're one of my sons, yeah, let's get started.